Welcome to Mitchell Levy Presents, where I dive into the essential elements of clarity and credibility. Hosted by global credibility expert Mitchell Levy, today's episode offers invaluable insights to make you think and act more credibly. Join us as we explore living your values, boosting your credibility, and leading purposefully. Hi, Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert, and I am so excited you're here. First of all, I love sharing. The most fun part of my day is talking to another human and really exploring who they are and their values, and you are in for a treat. We're here with Sally Foley Lewis. Sally, welcome.
Hi, Mitchell. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always my pleasure. And before I ask you the quintessential question, who are you? One of my team said I should be asking this question, and I have, and I'm surprised at the answers. What does executive presence mean to you?
It can mean so many different things, but I think the first thing that comes to my mind is a credibility and a visibility element. It's, do you walk your talk? And are the people around you feeling safe enough in the decisions you make and in the ability to approach you? I do think that there's presence. We can have this thing that's up on a pedestal, but I do think actually in today's world that we operate in, we want more authenticity. And I know that's a buzzword, but we do want more authenticity. So does your visibility and how you show up match with your credibility? And are people
Wow.
safe to approach you? And do people feel safe in your decision making? And not necessarily that you have to have the answers, but your process and approach to decision making.
Wow. That was amazing. Don't tell anyone else who's been on the show what a good job you did. That was awesome. So thank you for that. And so, Sally, who are you?
Who am I? When I hear that question, my brain instantly goes to the list of things I do. Your job description, your job title. And so I'm really kind of going, all right, let's take that layer away and just like, who am I, right? Who really am I? And I think I'm the person who absolutely loves to help other people. I come from a service mindset. And so whatever I've done is driven by me who loves to help and support other people. And I think that is measured when in a moment, and I just had this yesterday, in a moment where you see someone's eyes light up because they got it. And I think that's who I am. I'm the person who helps people get it.
Mm,
Does that answer the question?
I'm going to say it does with a big and. So thank you.
Mm.
It shows servant leadership. It shows the intent and commitment to do the right thing. And in this particular case, the right thing is get it. I see it. Tell me a little bit more about the rest of you. Who are you? Friends, family? Who? What is Sally?
Well, I've got an older brother and a younger stepsister, and I think we love each other dearly, but we never speak to each other. We're just getting on with our lives, and I think that's it just is what it is. And I feel as though that comes with no pressure, which is nice too, because they're
Mm,
doing their thing. Um, my family are all over the place, and so it's kind of, we catch up when we can. My husband's family, we catch up when we can, and what I really love and admire about that environment is that the minute we're all together, there's never any, why haven't you
nice.
done this, or why haven't you done that, or why didn't you talk to me sooner? We go, it's almost like going back into the finishing the sentence we had last time. And so I love that. There's never a pressure about it. And I think that's the same with my friendship circle. There's a few of us, one in particular who I've known since I've been 10, and we are still friends today. We ended up going to university together by pure fluke. And there's a small group of us who catch up as often as we possibly can. once a year. And but again, it is that there's a deep-seated loyalty, and it comes with no demands and no guilt trip, because there is a respect for, we've got a life, we've got demands, we've got other stuff in this world that we've got to deal with. And so yeah, that kind of describes who we are, I think. Yeah.
That's interesting. So a lot of times what I see with family, and this was true for me for a long time, is that the family knew you at a different incarnation of you, right? Because you grow as a human, we're growing all the time. And so the family knew me in a certain way. And then when we would get together as family, at least a particular family member would put me back and treat me in that way.
Mm.
And it was sometimes easy to fall into that. And so it sounds like, and nowadays that only happened 2 or 3 times, a number of years ago, where I didn't fall into the trap, and then they finally saw me in a different way.
Mm.
But did that never happen to you? Were you guys always just pretty open, pretty straightforward, transparent with who you were?
There's less transparency, I think, with my brother and sister. We just don't talk about it. But I guess I know what you're saying. There's a trigger, right? There's the buttons. It's almost like, because particularly my brother and I, we grew up together. My sister came later, and she's a stepsister. And so with my brother and I, we definitely got, it's almost this unconscious ability to push each other's buttons. And we do it, but I don't even think we do it deliberately. It's the pattern that we have. But again, I think because we don't talk about it, it just stays in the background. And there has been times where, we just move past it and not talk about it, because what's the point? You don't want to go backwards. Let's go forwards. So I do understand what you're talking about, but I have a slightly different approach to it, I guess, because
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I think there's a point where, and this is with some people that come into your life, right? What's the saying? The seasons and reasons, or sort of what's that rhetoric that's there? And I think for some people, it's a case of, I appreciate having met them, and I appreciate having learnt about them, because what they've taught me is what I don't want to be, or what I don't think serves my journey. And I don't think I'm serving their journey. It's not a one-way street here. I'm not a right fit for someone else as well. We are, as much as the ego needs to learn it, we're not for everyone, So, yeah.
And by the way, I want to point out to the world, obviously, with your accent and my accent, we are actually time traveling at the moment. So if you're paying attention, we are in different time zones, and the days are different.
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
We're back to the future.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you speak, and one of the things I'd like you to talk about is, it's hard not to see your background, and there's two things that stand out. One is the color red, and the second is the variety of cheeseburgers that are behind you.
Yes.
So why don't you start with red and then tell me about the burgers?
So the red is part of my brand. My favorite color is blue. Everyone assumes it's red, but it's blue. But actually, my background will change very soon, just to mix it up a bit and have a bit more variety. So my brand
We both got the message on the blue shirt, by the way.
That's it. It's blue and red, right? They're blue and red are my colors. And so, and why have a boring gray filing cabinet when you can actually have a red one? So that's a red filing cabinet as a makeshift stand for myself there. The burgers. So that has come about because I was really keen in the work that I do, that part of who I am that goes to job description and what I do. I work with middle managers, and it's the leadership and professional development for mid-level leaders. And I really want them to be capable and confident and courageous in their roles. And I do think that they are the powerhouse of organizations. Now, when we think about leadership, we sort of go, that old chestnut. It can be it's a massive topic. And
I
so,
hope not, because I'm playing in that world very aggressively right now. But okay,
but it's a big pool, right? There's a lot
it
of
is a big
leadership
pool.
experts out there. There's a lot of leadership conversations. There's a lot of leadership books. There's a lot of leadership everything out there, as there should be, because it's such an important topic. And I got to a point in my journey with the work that I do thinking, I really need to raise the bar on and thanks to COVID for this actually, to raise the bar on the visibility and importance of mid level leaders for organizational success. Now, and I wasn't sure how to do this because I don't have the marketing or branding background. And so I reached out to some people in that area and that expertise, and they actually have been quite successful in the advertising game. And so we started looking at middle, and out of that came, well, what are things that are in the middle? What are things that have middles? And it was like the moment we went through a process, but it was like burgers, the best is in the middle. And so that's where it came from. And so for a few years now, being the burger lady, which someone gave me that title, I did not give myself that title. I was fairly round like a burger when they gave it to me, though, so I've worked on that.
Uh-oh.
but
Uh-oh.
and I love burgers. I absolutely do love burgers. Have to be careful about how many I eat. But since then, people send me burgers.
How cool is that?
So that's these are the gifts that I receive. I've got a tissue box holder that's in the shape of a burger. I've got a pen holder. I've got a soap dispenser. I've got socks. I've got shirts. I've got earrings. You name
Oh
it.
my!
Yeah.
So you are branded today. Okay.
But these are gifts as well. People gift me burgers, which is so sweet. But it tells me something. It tells me that the message is sticking and it makes sense. Yes, it's a bit of fun and it could be considered a bit kitsch in some ways, but my kitsch is my niche, and so I use the burger not just as the metaphor, but I've actually broken the parts of the burger down into an ecosystem of development of middle level leaders. So the top bun, the bottom bun, and all 5 key ingredients and secret sauce all actually mean something when it comes to leadership development.
You got me thinking about in my undergrad. I took stochastic and deterministic models of operational research, and one of the faculty members was a guy from Burger King, and he talked about the variety of different meats and the programming that went into place to make sure that you optimize both revenue and quality of food. It was kind of an interesting, and I'm thinking that could be a really interesting avenue for you.
Yes, definitely.
Huh.
Definitely. Thank you.
Interesting. So when you get out there and you share this,
Mm.
how many people are there people who just go, I don't get it, or they they can't separate out what you're saying from what you're really saying? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do,
Um,
I get it, I get it. So there's two
two
situations I'd like
questions.
to
Yeah.
share with you. Yeah, definitely. With a group of peers and colleagues in the speaking and industry, in my early days of adopting the burger, I actually wanted to see how people reacted to it, because I appreciate that I walk into a corporate environment with a very kitsch, fun kind of concept, and I wanted to sort of see how it would land, whether this would resonate. And it was interesting. In this cohort of peers, industry peers, one of them said, "Oh, that's so unhealthy." And I said, "Okay." But someone else chimed in first and said, "It's not a McDonald's burger," which, sorry, McDonald's, but that's what they said. So apologies to McDonald's.
Damn, I've just lost that sponsor. Huh.
Yeah, so but what they were meaning, it wasn't a fast food burger. It was, it was a build your own burger. So this second person got it immediately. And then the health nut that said, ew, unhealthy, they then went, "Oh, I get it. So I don't even have to have bread. I could have something else as the bread." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she went, "Oh, love it." And so I think there was a little bit of that finessing and making sure what I put out visually to the world resonates with the metaphor and the framework or ecosystem that I'm using. And again, apologies to fast food joints. That's where that person went. But the second time, when I reiterated my content into this ecosystem, I had a follow up session with the cohort that I did it with. And one of them said to me, you know, I really just didn't quite get the burger. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I really appreciate that feedback. What didn't resonate? Like, why didn't it work for you? Uh, well, well, when you talked about the meat patty and how it's your values, and then they started talking about what they actually learned. And then they said, and the tomato with the communication, I'm sitting here thinking, didn't stick, huh? So, you know, I get they probably felt like might have been a bit silly or a little bit too much fun or not as serious enough to what their concept of leadership development should be. But the learning did stick.
Sure, it really does sound like it. All right, so that's a great question. I love that. All right, so she finishes telling her story, and then how did you get her to see it? That she actually did stick it.
I didn't need to say anything. She actually started smirking and she went, oh, oh. And we both giggled. She was smart enough to see it. She talked herself into that. And so she said, oh. And then I think as we talked a little bit longer, she then said, oh, you're quite sneaky, aren't you?
Well, by the way, that's a great story because it reinforces how you responded to who am I?
Mm,
I'm a person who likes people to say I get it.
I do.
Nice story.
Mm, thank you. Thank you.
Right. So who didn't get you? Who what part of the world doesn't quite understand, doesn't have to be the metaphor or even just the concept and focus on middle management or even just life overall? Who doesn't get you?
Well, I think sometimes. Okay, so thank you for that. There's been a recent workshop that I ran. It was a leadership workshop for middle and senior leaders, and the CEO and the CFO sat in on it, and they wanted me to focus on leadership and building collaboration in those teams, so across those teams and in between those teams. And it was interesting that the CEO's behavior actually had a bit of an influence in the room. And I already know that. I sometimes if I'm in a position and feel like it's okay to say so in the lead up to a workshop or a program, I will say to a CEO, are you okay for me to read the room and see what's happening and maybe invite you to step out so that there's a sense of
Mm.
ability or freedom for people to say things that they might not feel like they can say because the boss is in the room. And when I can say that to in some organizations, the leader can actually see what I'm doing, they'll say absolutely. And then sometimes they'll say, you know what? I'm not coming. Go for it. Let them have that freedom to say what they need to say so that you can then move them forward and then we can debrief it later. And then I obviously say to the cohort in the room, I will not disclose anything. What I will do is talk about the journey and what that senior leader might want to focus on. Are you okay with that? And so that's what I'll do there. But in this particular situation, the CEO, I didn't sense that I could go there because, and I'm glad I didn't prior, because the person was competitive and self-competitive and also competitive with some of the staff, and also challenged me once or twice, which was great, and I'm absolutely up for that, and I acknowledged it and said that's a really cool way of putting it forward, and if it resonates with the work you're doing, then yes. I hadn't thought of it that way. I'm not going to discount anything anyone says because it's how they're seeing it and how they're learning and how they're assimilating it. And I may challenge back to say, yes, and could you build on it this way? which is not necessarily a challenge, but a build. So sometimes there might be a senior leader who's, I don't know if it's ego or if it's position or something else going on. They may feel threatened or challenged, and then that triggers a certain kind of behavior or a certain kind of responses. I do work very hard to work with senior leadership to say this is about strengthening the relationship. It's about building the capability of your mid-level leaders so that you stay out of the weeds. And so I try and reinforce that. But every once in a while, there'll be a senior leader who struggles with where I'm at and what I'm doing.
So you must have had, sorry, I'm really digging. What's really fascinating is the values and your thinking process that's coming out as you're speaking. And so I'm digging not to find dirt, but to find that where did it just like that? There must have been one time where it just, oh my God, I made a mistake.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What happened?
I think at times there's one time where I made a comment to a gentleman. I can't even remember what I said now. And he completely misunderstood me. And there was also a language barrier. This was in the Middle East. And he sat there for the first 2 hours just, giving me a death stare. And then at the break, I said, "Is everything okay? I just want to check with you because I get a sense that I may have said something or something's gone not quite right with setting up the morning for you." And he started yelling at me and about what I'd said. And I just went, "That is not what I meant. And I am so, so sorry, And then I said, "Okay, let's walk that back." And I explained it. And he accepted my apology, but he'd already messaged his business. The business had already messaged my employer at the time. This is going back years when I was a corporate trainer inside an organization. And so, a whole lot of wrath had been thrown around the place. But had we'd had that conversation and like earlier, then I think we could have avoided a whole lot of angst for a whole lot of people. But it was, it's so typical. It's the typical situation where there's just been a misunderstanding.
I could still put my fingers on what that would be. And
Mm,
so how does someone like you today, let's assume something like that happened again, maybe not the same, obviously.
mm,
The question I'm thinking about is how do you deal with it afterwards? Like the next day when you wake up and you made a mistake, because we all make mistakes. Everything we break. I mean, every leader breaks something, right? So if you accidentally stepped on a landmine, and when you're traveling around the world, different cultures, you're going to accidentally step on the landmine. You hit a break. Does it bother you, or do you get over it? Or how do you deal with that yourself personally as a human? How do we make sure that we're okay?
Well, Dr. Mitchell, let's get into our therapy now. So it's the this is where
Wait, my wife would say I'm not that type of doctor, but okay.
I'm the worst ruminator. I am a ruminator. I have to hands up all the guilty ruminators, right? It will go round and round and round and round and round. And then I'll actually get sick of myself and like, stop. That's enough. All right. You've pulled it apart. You've turned it upside down. You've dissected it. You've given it an autopsy. The thing is dead. Cremate it now, right? And I do have to say to myself, have I done everything that I could possibly do to rectify the situation? A yes or no, and no, go do something. Yes, all right. Forgive yourself. I've actually walked around my house a couple of times and just gone, all right, girl, forgive yourself. Give yourself a good hard talking to, as my dad would say in that kind of Aussie sort of tone. Give yourself a good hard
Mm.
talking to and forgive yourself. So, but I am a ruminator. That's if that whatever the opposite of a superpower is, that's that.
I have somebody I need to introduce you to who part of their neurological testing, one of the characteristics is ruminator. So I think you would enjoy that. So I'll make sure to take a note and introduce the two of you.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Hey, so I want to say for those who are listening, who are watching, and they want to reach out to Sally, please do. She could come into your event, and you could feel from the conversation and from the energy here that she could really add value to your middle management team. Sally, what is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Google my name, Sally Foley Lewis. There is only one of me, and some people think that that's a blessing that there is only one of me. So, so Google me. I play mainly on LinkedIn. That's where, from a social media perspective. So please reach out and connect. Sally Foley Lewis.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Sally, given this conversation, what questions should have I asked that I didn't, or what do you want to, what's
Mm.
heavy there that you want to make sure we get across?
Ooh. Ah. Maybe because you do talk about living your values. I wonder if it there. Maybe what's the hardest value to live?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
Okay,
Maybe.
Sally, what's the hardest value for you? And I assume you mean for you to live versus for others.
Oh,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is a self-reflective thing. I do think that, and this has happened recently, where an ethics value of mine has been front and center with some behavior and performance of some others in a certain circle that I operate in. And it's quite interesting. I have had physical reactions and emotional reactions to what I've been confronted with, and working out the strategy to deal with it, and actually not being able to enact a few things, and how I've had to resolve that because it is grinding against that value of ethics. And so that is really hard to reconcile and really hard to put where it needs to be put and then move on, or um, find other ways. And I'm still actually looking and searching for other ways to deal with it, because when this happens for any of us, when we are confronted with a challenge to a value, how do you reconcile it when there's other factors that come into play that don't let you reconcile it quickly and easily, and so you can move forward? and and that's been a real tough one. It has been a real tough one, and I'm still dealing with it now, because I'm sitting in a position of authority, and people are looking to this position, and I'm really struggling with dealing with this because it will have other repercussions in other areas. And so it's not an easy fix. And so anyone who sits in a leadership position, it's a real reminder of being kind to yourself. Don't rush. Get good counsel, get trusted counsel, and maybe sometimes also you've just got to, as my grandmother would say, sit on your hands.
I uh, you threw um, cotton candy in front of somebody who likes cotton candy. Um, the We will have a post green room conversation because I need to. I'm now. Oh, I want to know the details. There's a part of me that says there's a fine line of where there's an ethical break, right? And there, what I can understand, knowing you and understanding where you're coming from, is they haven't they're maybe approaching the line but haven't crossed over it yet, because you're pretty strong. In my feeling, you're pretty strong, and if somebody crossed over the line of your ethics, you would walk away.
Oh, I have a very good friend who wrote a book about me, and in it she says one of my lines are, "I'm done with you."
And I think that about you, so it must be. not quite, it must be someone who's getting close to the line, but not quite there yet. And
There's
something
way
along
more
those lines.
complex. I know where you're going. There's way more complexity involved, and
Oh my.
so that's why mentally and emotionally I'm done with them. However, there's so much more complexity involved that I still need to engage and do things, and so that's the problem.
Wow.
I don't trust them. Trust is gone, and that's tough. And I think that this is probably more common for a lot of leaders in organizations. That, how do I grapple when a structure says this person needs to stay because we've got to go through a process. So how do I reconcile my day to day until we've gone through the process?
Got it. Oh, I'm tracking. All right, I'm here.
Mm.
Normally I'd end right now, but I want to share one thing. I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I'm going to share this and just move me for a second.
Mhm.
And that is, I'm now this could right or wrong. I just want to share this for everyone else because this is what hit in my head. This concept of integrity. There's the external integrity that people show and the internal integrity that people are. And whenever there's a disconnect, that's when the hair in the back of your neck sticks up. And those are things that I recognize if there's a disconnect there, those are people you typically want to avoid. And that's what it feels like to me, but we'll talk we'll talk a little bit more. And thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. Oh, sorry about that. For giving me the opportunity to think about this because it's really powerful. And most importantly, thank you for showing up as you. And that was a great last question to ask yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I think people who have figured out a lot also have to recognize that, hey, no matter how far along we are in our journey, there's still more to learn and more to grow, and there's still situations that if we're credible humans, we need to actually think about and ponder and sometimes sit on our hands. So anyhow, Sally, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mitchell.
And hey, for those that are still here, whether you're watching or listening, there were so many aha moments in this episode. What I want you to do is take the ones that really resonated for you. It's now your time to spread Sally's cred dust. Share the comments, the thoughts, the ideas that you had on the social media platform that's most relevant for you. Make sure you tag her. Make sure you tag me. I thank you for participating in this journey with us. And I look forward to seeing you at the next episode of Leaders Living Their Values. Take care, everyone. Bye now. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you found value in today's episode. Like, subscribe, and share your aha moments on your preferred platform. Remember, credibility starts with clarity and living your values. Learn more at mitchelllevy.com. Until next time.